It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
We're moving on to the second portion of the show. If you are a listener of the podcast, you know that we love to play a game on this show that's called Bullshit or Believe It.
That's right.
We have a surprise guest in the audience today. I'd like to invite my guest up. Ladies and gentlemen, actress Maria Thayer is here.
Yay!
Ow! You may have seen her on Eagle Heart. Those who can't... Maria, come up here, get a mic.
Hey, Maria, how are you?
Hey.
Maria's a friend of the show.
She's a friend of the show.
She was on... Maria, what was your episode about? Do you remember?
Of ours?
Oh, I think you were on Johnny... Weren't you with John E. Mack? Not with him, but we did
Yes.
John E.
Yes.
Mack.
Yes, he was the Harvard professor.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So, yeah. But we... what are you doing here?
I don't know. I don't
Why
know.
are you here?
Let's start with that.
Because you were like... Oh, no,
You told me you were doing this, and I said, I want to come.
Yes, and then you said, oh, other people I know are going to be there. And I was like, who else do you know that is into this
in
stuff?
Palm Springs, not here.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Sorry.
I'm your weird friend, so that's good. So when you were
I'm
here...
really glad to be here, though.
Yeah, when you did the show, it's great to see you, by the way. You didn't get to play this game.
No.
Because we hadn't invented it yet. So what we do is we go down a list of things, and I'm going to ask you if you believe it, if you believe in it.
Okay.
Or you say bullshit if you don't buy it.
Okay.
All right?
Can I poll the audience sometimes?
If you want to,
Okay.
that's fine. We
Absolutely.
have a live audience here for a reason. All right, Maria Thayer, are you ready?
Yeah.
On your mark.
Sure.
Get set.
Okay.
Ghosts.
Believe it.
UFOs.
Oh, this is just what I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, don't no. Yes,
See,
for the
you have to say
Two
bullshit.
answers.
bullshit.
All right.
Bigfoot.
Bullshit.
Damn you,
I'm gonna
Maria
get in
Thayer.
trouble.
No, there's no getting in trouble here.
Angels.
Bullshit.
Gnomes.
Believe.
This is, thank you. This is also like much
Yeah, I
scarier
think that's
to do.
our first known believer.
Are you? Well, besides me.
Well, of course, and me, of course.
This is
I
also.
feel like I'm a little gnome-like, so I don't
like
want to
that.
self-deny.
I mean, you do have that white beard that you have to keep. shaved.
eventually that will happen. I'm pretty sure.
I just also realized how much more of a hot seat this is to put you in when there's like a crowd of people
when
staring
you told
at
me
you.
what was
into
going to
this-
happen, I thought that you were going to say, like, is this true or not? You'd like make up a story and then also a story that you thought was true. Do you know what I mean? This
That's
is
not what
just
we
my
did that.
personal belief system.
We're picking at your personal
Oh, my
beliefs here.
God.
And putting it on display for
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't
To be judged.
Crowd of
I
paranormal
don't
enthusiasts.
disbelieve or believe in anything.
You know, we're not
hardly.
even halfway through this list yet.
Oh
Here we
my
go.
God.
Unicorns.
Oh my God! I'm going to pull the audience. Who believes in unicorns here?
We got a couple of
hey,
hands.
got a
Nice.
couple.
Hey, we got some people in
Bryce
the back.
is the big
I would
unicorn
Believe it.
proponent.
I'm with you two.
Big hands in the back.
Yeah.
Shadow people.
What a beautiful. I don't know what that is.
Put your hands up. For
Yeah.
all of these, you guys can put your hands
Yeah,
up. For
I
Yeah, I
love
this.
like
it.
this. Let's do
This
an
is more
audience.
fun.
Hand
All right.
up means believe it. We'll
All
go
right.
with.
All right, we
Yeah.
got to believe it.
All right.
Loch Ness Monster.
Lot of believers.
Believe
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Little gray aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it.
That's
That
all
was-
half.
a
That's-
unanimous
yeah.
consensus.
That was a softball.
Yeah.
No brainer.
Dogman.
Just a few.
4 or
Just
5.
a few.
Strong.
Oh, yeah. We got a
Believe
big
it.
strong
A strong,
dog
oh,
man
yeah.
over here.
Monogamy.
That's a new.
We got a married couple sitting right up front.
But they're the only people that raise their
You
hands.
tricked him, Michael.
I forgot I put that in there. Parallel universes. Believe it.
Yep.
The Loveland Frogman.
Specific.
Oh, bullshit.
Oh,
Never
only
a few
saying, we're
people.
saying bullshit.
Yeah.
Mermaids.
Yeah, this is my
Well, not
room.
half,
These are your
though.
people, Bryce.
These are my people.
Now I think that aliens are just making everything. So they can
Prototypes.
make a mermaid.
Yeah,
not?
sure, man.
Heaven. Oh, interesting.
Like that.
Split half the
Split.
room.
Hell.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, bullshit on that one.
The other half somehow. Strange.
Yeti.
Yeah, I'm big.
That's a
Yeah.
full.
believe it.
That's
Right,
everybody.
Yeah.
Venusians, a.k.a. hot blondes from Venus.
I want to believe. I'm going to go for yeah.
ESP.
Big time.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that seems to be unanimous.
Chupacabra.
Sure.
Bullshit.
Daryl's got it in his freezer.
Demons.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Atlantis.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
That's a full crowd. Yep.
Bat Squatch.
I had a problem. Hey, we got a couple. I'm going to go with you guys.
Life on other planets.
I'm so easy.
I mean, come on.
Sway.
Believe
Come
it.
on.
I also love that you just like I'll believe you. Really are like you're like two people who held up your hand. I'm like I like this attitude.
I'm going to hang with
This is
these guys.
positive attitude to all these people. All right, world peace.
Yeah.
that's
One very
active.
enthusiastic person in the
Oh,
back.
got one in the
Lot of
back.
pessimists in this.
We
Right
got one
on.
in the back.
Let's hear it for
Which
optimism.
world?
Good question.
Which world?
Great question.
That's a good question.
Good one.
Yeah.
Peace in the multiverse.
Sure.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
All right, there it is. You guys were great.
That was awesome.
Maria, you did a really good job.
Thanks.
You nailed it.
Really
was
well
great.
deferred to the crowd.
Yeah.
It's a smart
I'm very
move.
curious about all these things.
Well, what off this list captures your imagination the most?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Atlantis.
let's talk about Okay,
Oh,
let's
no.
talk about
Atlantis.
both. Let's talk about Atlantis.
Yeah.
Why Atlantis?
Because it sounds amazing if it's true.
Right.
I'd love to. It's a city on the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is Aquaman there? Do you think there's people like
I don't
swimming
even-
around down there, or is it just a lost city?
a lost city is even better.
Well, a
Just-
lot of people believe that sort of the Atlantis myth, which came from Plato, was, I think, the first to mention it, but that a lot of their high priestesses, before the Atlantis was destroyed by a cataclysmic event, that some of the high priests sort of made their way to Egypt and settled there and sort of established that mythology and that from there they, that's how it's spread. And, does a lot of people, is that vibe with
This
a lot
is like
of people?
the drunkest alternate history class anyone's ever been to.
Let me tell you something about Egypt.
But anyway,
All right.
so I'm saying you're validated in believing that. But no, do you know who famed psychic Edgar Cayce is?
No.
You'd like Edgar
You'd like
Cayce.
him. He was awesome.
Maria makes crop art, and she's really good at it. You would make a good, corn Edgar Cayce
Maybe for
portrait.
this year's
I
state
think-
fair.
Yes,
Oh,
please
yeah.
do it.
Well, they called him the sleeping prophet. Anyway, he wrote a whole book on Atlantis.
He
and
just took a
described
lot
it
of
in-
naps
Yeah.
and got famous
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, he went into these Anyway, he did a lot of work on Atlantis. So
Gnomes. Why gnomes?
Oh, I just was saying no to everything, and I was saying no because I don't believe. Like I said, I just like every. I
Thought
don't.
you'd
There's
throw us
very
a
little I
gnome.
believe in,
But you said believe it to gnomes.
because I wanted to believe in something, and that seemed like the nicest thing to believe
That's
in.
very
those
sweet.
gnomes are going to appreciate it.
They do get a lot of hate. It's
Do
too
they
bad.
do?
Yeah, nobody likes
Nobody
gnomes.
believes in
Nobody
the
likes
gnomes.
gnomes. No one believes in them. That's why they're always angry when they're living in your barn. All right. Well, thank you, Maria Thayer. You're welcome. You're going to stay up here and do this week's story of high strangeness with us.
Okay, great.
All right, guys. All right.
No idea what I
So
was gonna do.
we're out here in the desert in California. We're all making contact. And so I thought, what better place to talk about this is going to be so disappointing now because I set it up like it's going to be really rad. It is rad.
It is
It is
rad.
rad.
Keep it rad.
Edwards Air Force Base is this week's story of high strangeness. Now, super producer Riley, you got some. This almost looks like retro. What do you call a retro check when you're back engineering something from a crashed UFO?
Oh yeah,
Back engineering.
Yeah,
Well,
back reverse engineering. Thank you.
Same thing.
You look like you've reverse engineered all this stuff from some sort of alien craft.
Salvaged parts mainly. Yeah.
right.
For those of you who don't listen to our show regularly, every week we do a story of high strangeness where we recount a tale from paranormal history.
right.
And I live score it. So we use different things every time. Brought out the old theremin because I felt like it'd be a good place for it. So take it away,
agree.
Michael. Tell us all about Edwards.
Here we go. Located 22 miles northeast of Lancaster, California, Edwards Air Force Base is stationed alongside Rogers Dry Lake Bed in the Mojave Desert. Originally established as Muroc Bombing and Artillery Range in 1933, the base became Muroc Army Base during the World War II, where flight crews came to train for the battles facing them overseas. In the post-war years, the base became home to advanced aviation tests and experimental aircraft. This is from the Edwards Air Force Base official website. I'm going to ask Bryce to be your best like World War II pilot.
Oh,
Tell
yeah.
us about this.
Is this okay? Cool.
What?
It's my cool voice.
I'm
My
a cool
pilot
pilot.
voice. I fly planes, damn it. On October 14th, 1947, Captain Charles E. Chuck Yeager flew the small bullet-shaped airplane to become the first human to exceed the speed of sound. With the X-1, flight testing at Muroc began to assume two distinct identities. Highly experimental research programs, such as the X3, X4, X5, and XXF-92A, were typically flown in
You're doing
conjunction.
great with those plane names.
Thank you, man. I read this guy's biography. It's amazing. Were typically flown in conjunction with the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, or NACA, and were conducted in a methodical fashion to answer largely theoretical questions. Then as now, the great bulk of flight testing at Muroc focused on evaluations of the capabilities of aircraft and systems proposed for the operational inventory. In December 1949, Muroc was renamed Edwards Air Force Base in honor of Captain Glenn W. Edwards, who was killed a year earlier in the crash of the WB-49 Flying Wing.
We got a picture of Chuck Yeager up on the screen. What were you saying, Maria?
I was just saying he was handsome.
Wasn't he handsome? I know. And he was played by, in The Right Stuff.
Now you're putting me on the
Oh, it was so
who played
good.
him in The Right Stuff?
Thank you,
Shepard.
Sam Shepard.
Also
I like
another-
the name of his plane.
Yeah, that was named after his wife, and he
Glamorous
actually,
Glennis.
Also nice.
he actually demanded they didn't want to put that on the Mach 1. What's the name of that? Not the Mach 1. That's the speed of sound that he broke. But anyway, he demanded that he put his wife's name on that plane because as a pilot they often have a lot of superstitions. Anyway, he felt that having his wife's name on there would keep him safe. And
That's
so,
the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
Isn't that sweet? And so they put it on there for him.
Man, that guy was cool. An air of mystery and wonder hangs in the contrail-streaked skies over Edwards. The fabled Area 51 is a remote detachment of the base, and Edwards itself is steeped in UFO lore, as well as host to many stories involving our favorite furry friend, Captain Rudolph P. Bigfoot. That's his official rank and name. I just decided that.
Done.
Rudolph's a good name for Bigfoot.
I don't know. I think reindeer.
Well,
That's just me.
that's right. According to persistent lore emanating from Edwards, not one, but multiple Sasquatches are said to roam the desert landscape surrounding the military compound. Now, we covered some of these stories in episode 30, Tales of the Desert Sasquatch, but let's revisit a few of the strange stories that have trickled out of the fabled Air Force Base. 3 retired servicemen who were once stationed at Edwards in the 1970s, a lieutenant, a major, and a self-proclaimed grunt, spoke to Bigfoot researcher Doug Trapp on the strict basis of anonymity about the nocturnal, large, hairy creatures that were known to exist around Edwards in the 1970s. I feel like you're calling to these animals with that theremin, and it's... We're going to walk outside, there's going to be like a pack of Sasquatch out there.
That was my goal. That's what I came here to
you
do.
get it. That's what we're doing here.
Now, according to Trapp's story, all 3 men confirmed that Edwards was a major location for testing top secret military aircraft, obviously, and that the base was a UFO hotspot. The retired lieutenant that Trapp interviewed went so far to acknowledge that these UFOs were indeed extraterrestrial and that the military knew very little about their origins. Now, sidebar, this is sort of contradicts the legend of the 2 alleged meetings that took place between President Dwight D. Eisenhower and some alien greys at Edwards Air Force Base back in 1954 when allegedly a pact was made between our government and the aliens that in exchange for the aliens abducting humans for the purpose of genetic testing, the U.S. government would gain access to advanced technology. This is referred to as the Tau 9 Treaty. Now, whether the Air Force knew anything or nothing about the UFO spotted over Edwards is a debate for another time. But according to this anonymous lieutenant, and these guys spoke to Trapp, we'll go on record, but we're not going to tell you our names. He and his crew knew little about the origins of the strange aircrafts often witnessed overhead, except to say that they were indeed extraterrestrial. What the servicemen at Edwards didn't know a bit more about, because apparently they saw them constantly, were the nocturnal Bigfoot entities that stalked the Mojave Desert. While conducting starscope surveillance late one night in the 1970s, an officer reported a large being casually infiltrating the perimeter of the base. When the lieutenant that spoke to Trapp arrived on the scene to investigate, he got a good look at what appeared to be a tall, hairy, bipedal hominid at the distance of 500 meters, scanning the ground as if it was looking for something. A helicopter was sent out to investigate the creature, and it took off into the wilderness, bounding across the desert rocks like a deer before vanishing into the night. You are enjoying this a lot.
I've been saving the theremin for Contact in the Desert.
Dang,
I'm pretty
dude.
excited about it.
Where have you been hiding that theremin, yo?
In my UFO hangar, of course.
So this picture is actually from Joshua Tree Park, National Tree Park. This is of the alleged Yucca Man, and he hangs out close to where we are.
Yeah, this was taken by...
This hiker took this one night. He was out in pitch black and was snapping photos of the night desert, which you just do for some reason.
Yeah.
And later got his photos developed and saw this entity in his photograph. But I mean, it's a cool, spooky little, desert Bigfoot.
Can anyone
picture.
doubt that picture? I mean, that is verifiable
I'm going
proof.
to turn around and drive straight back to Los Angeles. That's out here.
Sasquatch activity around the base increased in the early 70s, with servicemen observing packs of these creatures, always at night. That included not only males, but females and juveniles as well. There was an entire Bigfoot community living nearby. Officers were told by command to observe, but not to kill the entities. Command was suspicious that the hairy hominids may have had some relationship to the UFOs. Now, one of the men that spoke with Trapp theorized that the Bigfoot entities felt safe in the presence of the military base because they could sense they would not be harmed by the Air Force. And they also talked about how they seem to have some sort of telepathic empathy connection with these animals. Like, they weren't freaked out by them, and the Bigfoot weren't scared of the servicemen, which is wild.
Weird.
The creatures were even seen roaming through the underground tunnels beneath Edwards. All of this activity was allegedly filmed and kept confidential by the Air Force, not because they wanted to keep the existence of Bigfoot from the public, but because they didn't want to let on the fact that their secretive military base was penetrable.
Yeah, seriously.
They were worried about teenagers driving out there and being like, and driving down or going out there and trying to break into the base once they heard these stories. I think though that's bearing the lead quite a bit. Paranormal investigator Bobby Ann Slate discovered one such creature was nicknamed Blue Eyes after his glowing blue peepers. An MP by the name of Sergeant House encountered Blue Eyes one night while patrolling the old sled tracks. Sergeant House claimed, and Maria, you're going to play Sergeant House. This is his story right here, and here's the rest of it. We're high-tech here. We still print things out on paper.
Heading back to the main house, I noticed maybe 200 or 300 yards to my left, those large blue eyes. I do a lot of night hunting, and it was strange. They were larger than anything I'd ever seen before. The blue eyes had to be about 4 inches apart and 7 feet off the ground. I stopped the truck and sat there watching them. Scary.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful.
It was too
eyes.
dark to see any body shape to the thing. The blue glows proceeded toward my truck at a right angle for about 100 yards and then stopped. The movement of the blue eyes was extremely fast. Another thing that bothered me was that they didn't bob up and down. It was like two lights on a wire moving from one point to another. Scary.
Yeah.
That just reminds me of an old haunted house effect of a ghost coming down on a zip line or something. Maybe he was ziplining down there.
It's possible. There's a lot of outdoor activity down there.
It's fun. It's out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
According to Doug Trapp's story, the Air Force eventually concluded that the neighboring Bigfoot community was not extraterrestrial, but instead an uncategorized animal species native to our planet. How they came to this conclusion is unknown. There are a lot of holes in these stories, but at least one official Air Force document acknowledges Blue Eyes and the other creatures spotted around the base. an issue of Inside Edwards, the official Edwards Air Force Base newsletter. Ken Lane wrote about this in the winter 2015 issue of Desert Oracle. According to a 2009 article in the base newsletter, Inside Edwards, the entity known as Blue Eyes, was much discussed at a reunion of the 6,510th Air Police Squadron officers who worked on the base between 1973 and 1979, known as the Desert Rats. Attendees traded memories of their bizarre experiences on patrol, such as seeing Blue Eyes, the local version of a Yeti near South Base, or Marvin of the Mojave, a ghost who could be heard but not seen, and left size 10 sneaker imprints in the sand. Lisa Camplin of the 95th Security Forces Squadron wrote in the official Edwards newsletter, the now retired Edwards guards also recalled observing unexplainable objects in the skies and seeing disappearing taillights on the dry lake beds. So it's funny, it's like that, for all intents and purposes, that is a military document.
Yeah.
And there are all these people that worked on there. It's like, we saw weird shit all the time.
Basically.
That's what they said. So they should have called that newsletter Weird Shit.
Weird shit.
So what about the UFO activity at Edwards? I mentioned the supposed meeting between a U.S. president and a crew of aliens back in 1954, but none of that is on the record. However, a few UFO encounters are. In 1957, test pilot and future NASA astronaut Gordon Cooper claimed to have witnessed a flying saucer touch down 50 yards away from Cooper's team during a test rocket launch. Cooper and his men, this guy is a highly decorated astronaut. Cooper and his men approached the craft, which had landed, and they said 3 legs came out like a tripod and touched down, left imprints in the sand. And as they approached, the craft took back off, hovered over them, and then just shot straight up into the sky and disappeared. The encounter was photographed, and Cooper, being like, this is insane, sent the pictures to the Pentagon, or sent the film, and they were like, here's what happened. He didn't develop the pictures, but he developed the negatives, right? So the negatives, and they said, don't look at them, don't print any pictures, send it directly to us. And he was like, well, I'm going to at least look at these negatives. And you could see that the craft was in there. They got amazing pictures of this UFO. And then he sent it to the Pentagon, and he was waiting to hear back, and they never got back to him. The CIA just took it, and he was just like, he always wondered whatever happened. On October 7th, 1965, dozens of strange lights were reported over the skies of Edwards, and not the strange kind of lights emanating from experimental aircraft the Air Force may have been developing at that time. Fighter jets scrambled to investigate the UFOs. On-duty pilot Daryl Clark described the objects as such. Why don't you read Daryl Clark first, Bryce?
Sure. Daryl says, I grabbed the binoculars and got a better look. The UFO was about 10 miles northwest of my position at first sighting. It continued south until it was almost due west of me. There it made a 90-degree right turn and started to climb at a 45-degree to 50-degree angle. All I could see was the pulsating, not rotating light and what appeared to be a small cloud pushed by a vehicle I could not see.
So this photo that I just put up of a UFO is, this encounter, there was no photos, but this is over Holloman Air Force Base. This was taken back in the early 60s, so around the same time. The UFO never leveled off. It just continued to climb. Aircraft always show movement in relation to stars, but this light moved higher. It seemed to become stabilized with the stars. In other words, it appeared to move right out into space until it finally passed out of view. According to a tower operator's official report, and you can look this up, the document's there. It was part of the Freedom of Information Act. 7 objects in total were visual that night. 4 of the objects appeared to hover and then rise in a near vertical direction. These objects looked like all the other stars and then seemed to blend in with the stars. The 3 other objects just seemed to fade from view after a short time, and that there was no discernible pattern to the flight paths of the objects when considered as a whole. That's all taken directly from this report that this tower operator wrote. The incident was recorded in Project Blue Book, which would officially shut down by the Air Force 4 years later, with the frustrating and misleading conclusion that there has been no evidence indicating that sightings categorized as unidentified are extraterrestrial vehicles. And one of the strangest UFO legends to come out of Edwards is the abduction case of Lorraine Cordini. This one is wild. And this one we could do an entire episode about.
As if Bigfoot penetrating Edwards Air Force Base underground tunnels isn't.
Get a load of this.
All right.
So the story goes that in the summer of 1971, civilians living near Edwards were alerted by a loud rumbling and a huge crashing sound. Multiple witnesses went out into the desert and discovered a crashed saucer with 2 dead aliens, 1 alien still alive and walking around dazedly, and among the wreckage was a human female wearing a pink bodysuit who later became identified as Lorraine Cordini. The military arrived, guns drawn, kicked all the civilians out, and then threw canvas over the craft, and the trucks took everything back to Edwards. And the civilians were like, the people who lived around there, they're like, well, we're definitely hearing about this in the news tomorrow. And then nothing came, of course. So apparently Lorraine, who identified herself later in her life, had been abducted the night before, outfitted into a pink suit by the aliens. And this all came out through, years of therapy and all this stuff. And the craft that had crashed, for reasons that she does not know, was a smaller pod ship that had descended from a mothership on its way to return Lorraine to her home.
Weird.
Now, it would be years before Lorraine underwent hypnotic regression, and now, after talking to Daryl, I'm a little worried that maybe that was a bad idea. But she uncovered all these missing memories from this incident, but claims that while being handcuffed and taken away in a black limousine to Edwards, she received a telepathic message from a humanoid woman with brown hair and was standing in a white robe. This vision came to her, and the woman was surrounded by little alien greys. And in this telepathic message, the woman apologized to Lorraine and promised that she and the alien race would rescue her and come for her. And she said, we'll be there shortly, and everyone will know about us, and it's going to be okay. And then they just never showed up. They completely left her.
Is Lorraine still alive?
Yes, I don't know if she's still alive, but she came out later. This is in the 90s that she started telling this story. And there was a researcher by the name, I think it's Alberto Rosales, who discovered this, contacted her, and then led her to the therapist to get these stories out. So the crash at Edwards remains the stuff of legend. Much like the stories about Bigfoot and UFOs buzzing Rogers Dry Lake bed and the location where Chuck Yeager once made history. But one thing is irrefutable. Edwards Air Force Base remains a beacon of scientific breakthrough and endless mystery. Perhaps its legacy is all the evidence we need that contact in the desert has already happened.
Touche.
And that
Like, you
concludes
did that.
this
There
week's
you
story
go.
of High Strangeness.
There you
There you
go.
go. There's my dashboard. That was a mistake. Here's my laptop. So, Maria,
Yeah.
bullshit or believe it?
Oh, God. Bullshit or believe what?
Edwards Air Force
the
Base.
Bigfoot, the crash saucer, the
I know, I
UFOs.
just said I have to have so much evidence to believe it.
Right.
But I don't think bullshit either.
That blurry picture of brown Sasquatch wasn't enough?
No, I
No,
guess not.
you're going to need it. Damn. All
What do you
right.
guys think? Bullshit or believe it? What's going on at Believe It?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is
right.
crazy.
What's crazy is that, we all know that it would be easy for something like an undiscovered primate to hide in the woods of the Pacific Northwest. But when you start hearing and reading about these stories, which are quite a few of them, of these desert Sasquatches, it really,
All homegrown in California.
all homegrown in California, but it's like, where are these things going to hide? What
Well,
are they
say there's
eating?
underground caves, and that they go into the caves and into the underneath the mountains and stuff. Out in the
Yeah,
desert.
no,
it's nuts.
It's really interesting. I find that
Of
fascinating.
course,
with
we
the,
know where you think they go.
Yeah, some interdimensional portal. I'm not so sure. I might be changing the name of my tune to be
What?
more of
This
a.
is breaking news. What, Bryce?
This is
We
Bryce
just changed
Portal
the logo.
Johnson.
We just changed the logo
yeah,
of
you
the
might
show.
have. Yeah, that's true.
You bastard!
I don't know if I vibe with that. No, that still makes sense to me.
You are a traitor.
No, that still
to
makes sense to
everything
me.
we hold dear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. We'll
yeah.
just change it. Oh, great. Now it's just coming out
It
of
just
a
need a
rock.
cave, man. If you had a cave there, it'd be good.
So exciting.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating stuff. I don't get that, like, these Edward Air Force higher up intelligence officials, like, seeing a Bigfoot, like, combing through their underground base and just going, leave it alone, just
I think they shooed them away.
Yeah, because right.
I think they escorted them out.
Go.
Just,
Yeah.
Like there's like a soldier down there with a broom, and he's just kind of
Yeah,
like, it's like when a
right.
bird gets trapped in your house.
Totally. Yeah. Crazy shit, man.
I know. What do you think, Riley?
I think we should see if anybody has any questions before we wrap this up.
Yeah,
All
let's
right,
do
let's
some,
do that.
Let's do some Q&A.
Does
You guys have been
anybody-
a
it's Q&A
great
time.
audience.
All right, great.
Anything come up in your mind since
Here,
we've
let's
been
do.
up here
I have so
blathering?
many questions.
You do.
But just with a, yeah.
There we
Great.
go.
Good.
All right, yeah, don't be shy.
Yes.
Well, I have an answer for you.
All right.
Let's get
Answers
into
are even better than
This is
questions.
what we're talking about.
Great.
I didn't
No,
come to contact in the desert to not get answers.
Yeah, exactly. No, I had myself hypnotized one time, and because I wanted to find out, I had an experience. I was a Sasquatch at one time. I had this vision, So I went to a hypnotizer, and actually I should say a channeler. He channeled Shirley MacLaine, Kevin Ryerson, and I talked to to a spirit, Atun Ray, and I asked him, "Have I ever been a Sasquatch?" And he
That's
said,
maybe the greatest question that's ever been asked.
"Yeah,
Truly.
exactly."
Right.
We are asking
We can all ask ourselves that. Come on.
So now he said, "Well, just a moment." He checked my Akashic records, and then he said, "No, but you lived in Northern California and you were friends with Sasquatch. You watched their kids every now and then." I said, "How cool." But then he said, "Well, Sasquatch are on the endangered species list of the universe. So you probably have maybe seen some UFOs come by. They check on them periodically." And I think, that's just what I just popped into my mind now when you talked about Edwards Air Force Base. They have had contact with aliens at the Air Force Base. So maybe the aliens told them, don't do anything to them because they are under our protection. So
I like that
I
theory.
like
I like
that.
that
There's
a
your
lot.
answer.
Yeah.
Wait, did you
no.
get an answer? So you weren't a Sasquatch. You were just friends.
I was
Sasquatch
friends with them.
babysitter.
I was
And
a
a
Native
Sasquatch
American,
babysitter.
and I took care of that area. It was sacred, and I was friends with them.
Have you ever had an encounter with a Sasquatch? Have you ever seen one?
No, I have not seen one.
Have you heard them or
No, I went to the-
telepathically?
No, I went
Any of
to
that? No.
No, I didn't do that either. I just one time I lived in a little town in Northern California, and I used to do my morning. I walked around the town before I went to work. So one morning I was walking and I was thinking about all kinds of things, and all of a sudden I found myself walking like this.
Just doing the old Patty strut.
Yeah. That's
You're like,
wild.
this feels right.
This just feels good.
I just
Go with it.
I don't know where
Good,
that
yeah.
came
Just
from.
connect with this.
Oh my gosh, what was your name?
Barbara.
Barbara,
Thank
thank
you,
you so
Barbara,
much,
so much.
Barbara. Anybody
Yeah.
else have a question or
A story.
or like a mini L files,
Here we
like an
go.
experience
Oh
you
yeah,
want to share?
right up here.
Here we go.
And it's tell me your name again.
My name's Katie.
Katie. I knew it started
Yes.
with a K.
So this is referencing back to older episodes, so maybe everybody doesn't know.
That's
but
okay. We'll fill 'em
you
in.
mentioned, and it scared me, that you saw Grays.
Yes.
We woke up in the middle of the night. I think you said your dog. I don't remember the whole.
That's pretty much
I'll
it.
tell that story. Do you want to hear about that or no?
Oh no!
Do you want me to scare you again? Are you asking me to scare you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just curious. Do you think that you were possibly abducted?
I used to really be scared of that when I was a kid. I remember the first time I ever saw a picture of an alien gray. I was at B. Dalton Bookshop at Oak Park Mall in Kansas.
You remember?
Oh, he's from Kansas.
Are you really? Awesome.
Kansas City.
KC represent. Me too. And I remember finding the book Communion and seeing that alien gray, and I was like, it scared me so bad, but it felt like something that was familiar, but I had never seen it before. And then I was always creeped out about that. My sister has a story that she has a very vivid memory when she was little in the house that we grew up in, of late at night going to her window and looking out and seeing the entire ground light up. I had a situation similar to Riley's, where I woke up in the middle of the night and I was staring at my digital clock, and the lights were green, but when I was waking up, it looked like a green robot that was like emitting mist. And I go, okay, it's happening again. Don't worry about it. Just chill out. It'll be fine. It sucks, but it's going to end, and then you're not going to remember. And then as I was doing that, I started to come out of it, and I just saw my clock form, and I was like, that is the weirdest thing that I've ever thought or felt. It was like this real deep, like, okay, we've been through this before, don't worry about it. But the thing that I saw at the window, I don't know if it was a gray or not, because I only saw it in silhouette. I woke up at 4 o'clock, that hour of high strangeness. My dog was growling and then started barking like his vicious guard dog bark. And my other dog ran out and started barking. And I was just marched out there trying to shut everybody. I was like, shut up. And I looked up, and at the window, there's lights that project onto my drawn curtain outside. This is the window right outside my home. And I could see something standing there that had it was just the neck and head, and the neck was really long, and the head was I call it like that inverted spoon. It looked like an inverted spoon shape. And I remember going, well, that looks like an alien, and not being scared. And then it turned its head, and I could see where the back of the skull and the neck connected, and it like undulated, and it almost looked like at profile like a golf wedge. You know, it wasn't as like long as like E.T., but it moved, and and that's when I went, oh shit, and turned on the lights, and then it ran off. And then my buddy, my neighbor, I thought I thought it was my neighbor coming home. And I go out into the porch, and I'm looking around, and he comes out on his porch, and I go, hey, did you just get home? And he's like, no, what's going on? What's going on with the dogs? And I was like, well, I don't want to freak you out. And I left out that it looked like an alien, but I said, someone was staring in the window. And he goes, that's so creepy. And I go, why? He goes, because I've been home for an hour. He worked nights. He's like, I've been watching Netflix in my back bedroom, and I kept taking out my earbuds because I could have sworn something was in the house watching me. And his deck door had been open the entire time. So I don't know what that was. It was the weirdest thing that happened. There was no other phenomenon. There were no lights. There was no anything. I didn't feel like experiencing any missing time. But I almost felt like, and we've talked about this a few times on the show, that I had caught a glimpse of something passing through that I wasn't supposed to see. Almost like it felt more akin to like if you happen to see a leprechaun running by, you know, but it was more the shape of an alien. Yeah. And that's what it felt like to me. Like I caught a glimpse of something that was naturally occurring, maybe part of this, even maybe terrestrial, but not supposed to see. And I think he heard my bulldog snoring and was like, what is that? And was kind of looking at him. But I knew he was looking at my dog for a while because the growling had been going low growling for a good minute or two before he finally started barking. But anyway, I stole your moment there. But that was a weird. I don't know. It was weird.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? We have a little bit of time left. If anyone has any more questions or want to tell a story,
Yeah, I have a question. You guys seem like deep thinkers on this topic, so I thought maybe I could pose this one to you. And you started talking about it already, which is here in our mammalian presence on this planet, humans, dogs, cats seem to have a fear response to the paranormal. And we get this sense sometimes that something's watching us. And We all know that feeling. People are cringing in the audience. We just know, there's this sixth sense or something. But then whether it's confirmed or not, especially if it is confirmed, we get this overwhelming sense of fear and dread.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, I can speak on
Good
that.
question.
Scientists are discovering, have you ever heard of something called infrasound? So infrasound is something that they're detecting now in
God, you
different
really have changed. This isn't going to be a paranormal
No. But an animal species like tigers and alligators, possibly even some bird species as well. But they say it's a low detectable growl, inaudible to our own ears, but at a frequency that's too low for us to detect. And they think in like tigers, they send out this emitting growl to their prey before they attack it, and it almost renders them in paralysis, leaving them so afraid and as to not move, to give them that extra few seconds it needs to for them to attack. But I've read some stories that make the link of a lot of people that in these woods, when they have these Bigfoot experiences, a lot of people report having that same sort of feeling, where they're just this ominous fear, this indescribable feeling. And even a lot of the things you'll hear in these Bigfoot stories too is that the nature gets really quiet. Birds stop chirping, crickets stop. There's no noise, which is very strange. And people describe this sort of very ominous fear. I felt it myself once, and it was all I wanted to do was just get the hell out of there. I didn't hear any sort of footsteps around or anything like that, but. It was actually when I was filming Willow Creek. Bobcat took me to this area way down, and he was like, "I want to get a shot down here," and I was like, I remember just like I said, you heard birds, and then everything just stopped. It got really, really quiet, and I just had the overwhelming feeling that something was watching. And there's all the hairs on my body kind of stood up, and all I remember is just I want to go. I was like, Bob, did you get it? Let me get a few more. I was like, no, we got to go. We got to get the fuck out of here. But so no, there's definitely perhaps some sort of an emitting frequency that the animals are capable of putting out that can render that fear.
We had Adela Levine, who's a intuitive and medium, and she's really awesome. You should look up her work. She has actually a podcast called The Witch and the Medium. She was on the show last week or the week before. Bryce wasn't there. He was working on his top secret project that he won't tell anybody about, but you'll find out soon. And she offered an explanation that I thought was really interesting, that the other side that we cross over to when we die is basically it's overlapped with this dimension. It is really it's right here. And she said that animals have because of they're able to see and experience that dimension more than we are. They have more sensory access to it. So they will often see things that are in the room with us or passing through. It's this overlapped, spirit realm, and that's what she says that's about. Now, why it fills us with dread, I don't know. I'm scared of the unknown. I mean, one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because I had that weird experience. I'm fascinated by this stuff, and in a way, I think we're all trying to overcome our certain, we're scared about different things on this show.
That's a big thing about overcoming fear.
For
Because
sure.
you're really scared of ghosts, and I'm more freaked out. You are.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm more freaked out by the alien stuff.
Right.
But I don't know. So I think it may be those little moments where we go, I think something is happening.
Yeah.
I just think a big part of what we're here to do is confront that fear. I think that's a big part of getting good with your mortality and your place in the universe. And so I don't necessarily think that initial fear reaction is a bad thing. I think it's something that is there to sort of teach us a lesson about our place in the universe and, getting past our own ego. And, I think that fear is it's ego death. It's the ego calling out no, I'm in control. Reality is this, and that's a scary thing to shake that foundation. But I think it's one of the best things we can do as a human being. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, my son walks down the hallway now when it's dark, and he'll literally he'll come in and bother my wife when we're trying to relax and watch some TV at night, He's like, okay, I need somebody to tuck me back in. And we're like, dude, your bedroom is literally 3 feet. He's like, yeah, but it's dark from there to there. And it's just like, he needs somebody to like walk him back. And then lately he'll be like, face the fear, it'll disappear. Face it. I'm like, that's it, man. Now get to your room. Go to bed.
Maria, were you scared of the dark as a kid?
Last night, when I got home, I pretended that I was on the phone with somebody because I was scared somebody was in my house. Because I thought, if they're going to attack me, they'll know that I'm at least talking to somebody.
They're like, oh shit, she's on a call. Best not to bother her. Come back.
This is a bad idea. What am I doing here? I'm glad this is working out this way. I'm just going to sneak out the bathroom window the way I came in and quietly disappear into the night.
What a weird instinct to have.
Also,
though.
I love that.
Crazy.
I love that. Like, three straight men are up here being like, I'm scared of ghosts and aliens. You're
I'm scared
I
of
have
people.
a real threat that there might be a human being in my house.
That's
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Before we go, I want to thank Contact in the Desert. I want to thank Lisa, Victoria, Crystal for helping us put this show together. I want to thank everybody at the back of the room who helped make this happen. You guys are awesome. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you guys
we really
for coming.
Appreciate it.
This
thank
was
you guys.
so cool. We didn't know if there'd be anybody here, honestly. You can follow us, Bigfoot Collectors Club on Instagram, Twitter, Bigfoot_C Club, the worst name that Bryce has ever come up with for a Twitter account.
Thank you.
I also have stickers for you guys. Come up and get a free sticker. Swag's fun. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good night. And until next week, go get regrets. Woo!
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.